Hi, how you all doing? Nice of you to join me again. I hope the world is good with you wherever you are. I've been noting where people are sending messages from actually, and it's really cool. I know I say this often, but it is great that people are joining me from all over the world. Fair few from Thailand, from Belgium, from the US, uh, Malaysia, um, obviously here in Britain, and yeah, Holland, excuse me, Holland as well. I need to say a quick hello to, if I may, is it Jill Marie? I did flash her message up earlier. Um, she wrote to me earlier, actually, in the week, explaining that when she was younger, she crashed her Fiat Panda whilst listening to "I Don't Want to Be a Hero." I've never heard such a story before. Anyway, welcome. Thank goodness it was a minor one. I mean, a minor accident. So let's just see who's joining us here. Hello, Luna. I seem to remember, Luna, you are writing from Germany. Am I right? Hello. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Hi, Marcia. How are you doing? It sounds like a lot of you have got wonderful sunshine today. Who else have we got here? We've got David. Hi again, David from Chicago. How's it going? And Larissa. I'm doing good, thank you so much. And you're asking about, the song today, "Release You," that it's important to you. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, it's a subject that's always been close to my heart, as I will explain soon. Um, Kimberly, hi from the Catskills. How you doing? Nice of you to join us, Kimberly. And the Vanilla Veal Resort. Hello again for joining us. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I can't put a specific name to that, but lovely to hear from you. And Mark and Kirsty, how you doing? From all the way up there in Buckingham. Um, you've got Yorkshire tea and a few custard creams. Very nice. Actually, Kirsty, I've got some chocolate bourbons behind me. I thought I'd mix it up a bit, be a bit daring. Um, and who else have we got? We've got Robert Paul from Thailand. How you doing? Nice to hear from you. Ana Santiago from Brazil. Hello. How are you doing? Sarah. Hi from Norfolk. How are you doing? It's overcast there. Yeah, overcast here as well, Sarah. But lovely, lovely part of the country, of course. Um, and hello, Fatima. How are you doing? Thanks for your questions in the week. Um, ah, yes. Good evening from Ros and Was. How you doing, Ros? How you doing, Warren? I hope you're both keeping well up in the far northern Midlands from here of Britain. How you doing? And is that Kazorba, Helen Maria? I'm sorry if I didn't get that right. Hi, Clark. I'm from Hungary. How you doing? Oh, what a beautiful and historic place. Maybe you can drop me a line in the week just explaining how I should pronounce your name. Is it just Zorba or Zorba? Lovely name though. Welcome. Okay. And hi, Sue. Oh, you're up in Harrogate in Yorkshire. Beautiful place. I went to Harrogate um, as part of a Johnny Hates Jazz expedition, which I should tell you about at some point. And I had a lovely time up there. But it's quite a funny story. Okay, everyone. Thank you. I'll just have this as well. Rocchio Saldana or Rocchio Saldana. Thank you so much for this one in particular. My favorite from Magnetized. We'll leave an open letter on YouTube after the show is over on the meaning. This is a fantastic song. Thank you. Thank you very much for that wonderful message, Rocchio or Rocchio, like I said. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And it seems to me that a lot of people feel the same way about Magnetized. Excuse me, Release You. Hi, Clark. Hello, Angie. How you doing? Yes, Mom's keeping well. Thank you. And hi, Anders. How are you in beautiful Sweden there? Um, and I can't help but doing these. David. Uh, Thank you, David. You're saying it's an amazing song. Great. I'm really glad you think that. I hope you'll like my explanation. Moya, release you gave me a way to say goodbye to a beloved one I normally wouldn't have. It is the most important song in my life. Wow, that's quite something, Moya. Thank you very much. I'm very touched by that. Well, let's get to it, folks, because there is a lot to say with this one. But I want to start by just um, pointing something out that I recognize that I can't respond to everyone's messages, and that's a bit disappointing for me because I'd like to be able to do that, but it's just there's just not enough time, and obviously each episode seems to get progressively longer, which is probably quite hard going for all of you. So my website is going to launch imminently, www.clarkdatchler.com, and on that website there's going to be a forum, and it's going to be public access. You can talk to one another on the forum, and then my idea is once a week, probably midweek, I'll be there on the forum to answer some questions and just say hi. Okay, so it doesn't all have to happen in Journey Song. So hopefully that's one to look forward to. As you know, I need to take a break every now and again for my voice, of course. So as I think I said to you last time, everyone, Release You is the most streamed song from Magnetized. It was never a single, and it's also the fourth most streamed Johnny Hates Jazz track in history. I mean, since streaming began, which is quite something. In other words, it's behind Shattered Dreams, Turn Back the Clock, and I Don't Want to Be a Hero, and then Release You. So Release You is above Don't Say It's Love, Heart of Gold. It's above Magnetize itself, Spirit of Love. That really interests me that that song has just taken on a life of its own. And it makes me wonder why. And I think the reason possibly is, of course, I hope you're touched by the music, but I think the subject is something that is common to us all, and that is obviously life and death. So we'll get to that soon. Let me just say that Magnetized was obviously released as an album in 2013, and I wrote that whole album. I was the only writer on that album, and so it has a special place for me. It is actually my favourite Johnny Hates Jazz album, but it depends on the day. I love Turn Back the Clock. I love Wide Awake, but Magnetized is a bit special. That album, the songs came off the back of me finishing a solo album of mine called Tomorrow. And Tomorrow is going to be available as part of Journey Songs 2, which I know I've been saying Journey Songs 1 will be coming out soon, which it will. Journey Songs 2 is going to be later in the year, and that will have the whole of Tomorrow plus a lot of other material recorded at a similar time. And Tomorrow is really quite a spiritual, soul-searching album. So there were sparks of that found their way onto the Magnetized album, and Release You as a subject was very much that. And in actual fact, I've written songs around this subject before, including a song called Heart of Hearts, which is on the Rain Dance album. So that will be on Journey Songs 1, and I'll do that one pretty soon, but from a different perspective. And I've done that. I've written several songs on this subject because it is something that's deeply important to me. But again, we'll come to that in a minute. So, as you know, I posted this picture of Release You because there is something quite here and yet not here about it, somehow otherworldly. That was a Simon Fowler photograph taken at Real World Studios, where this was recorded. Magnetized was recorded in part, and it was also recorded at a studio called The Farm, just outside of Cambridge, which is where Mike is based. So Real World Studios is based in a city called Bath in the UK, or Bath as they say over here, and it's really a long way away from Cambridge. So me and Mike constantly were on the road to work with one another. It was fun though, hard work but fun. And it was there are a couple of notable additions to this album. There are other people I could mention, but there are going to be other songs from Magnetized that I'll be talking about in the coming time. But the first is the person who mixed this album, who is an old friend of mine, and that is Stephen Taylor. Stephen W. Taylor is his professional name. Um, Steve is an old friend of mine, and he engineered the album Fishing for Souls back in 1992, 91, 92, which is where I met him. And he works pretty much exclusively with a producer called Rupert Hine, and Rupert produced Fishing for Souls. So um, I got to know them then, and then um, Steve actually recorded some more material with me right after Fishing for Souls, which you've never heard, and it will be on Journey Songs 1. It's good stuff. Very much in the spirit of Fishing for Souls. And then we reconnected, and he mixed the Tomorrow album, did a remix actually of the Tomorrow album, and did a wonderful job. And then I brought him on board to mix the Magnetized album. So Steve, very important. And actually, here's a picture of my old studio at Real World. You can't see a great deal there, but that's Steve in the middle. This is, the picture I showed you was what he looked like when he and I worked on Fishing for Souls. And this is what he looked like, and me and Mike looked like when we recorded Magnetize. Yeah, he's a very, very wonderful individual. I love Steve very much. He's a dear friend, and his partner Sadia, who also has an incredible backstory as one of the first female rock producers ever. Remarkable people. Um, so, also, I should mention, Steve Taylor worked with, all kinds of incredible people. Did a lot with Tina Turner. He did all the Howard Jones stuff, a band called The Fix, if you know The Fix. Lots of people. Um, on guitar is a guy called Neil Taylor. And I don't know if many of you know Neil, but Neil was the guitarist on Songs from the Big Chair and Seeds of Love, those two Tears for Fears album, and toured with them. He was, their guitarist on stage. That was back in the day. So Neil, really came to prominence with Tears for Fears, and then went on to work with, interestingly, kind of similar with Steve Taylor. Maybe I gravitate towards these people. Tina Turner, Howard Jones. Did a lot of stuff with Robbie Williams, which is not my kind of thing, but really great player, really good fella as well. And I got to know Neil because he played on a couple of tracks on the Tomorrow album, one of them being Forever. So there you go. So let's get to the song now, folks. And I recognize people. I know I'm not really engaging much in terms of messages, but what I will say is this. I've got Andleeb Hussein. Hi from Pakistan. Hi, Andleeb. Great to hear from you. I'm not sure if you've had someone from Pakistan before, so thank you very much for joining us. Hope you're keeping well. And are you saying you're from Islamabad? Wonderful. Cool. Welcome on board. That's great. Louise. Hello, Louise. How you doing? Hi, Clark. This song means a lot to my boyfriend Keith in memory of his late mom, and a lovely tribute when you performed it for him live in London. Yeah, absolutely, Louise. How you doing? And hi, Keith. How are you? Keith had lost his mother just before me and Mike did a gig at the Indigo at the O2 in London in 2018, and Keith explained the situation and would we play Release You? Well, we were planning to, fortunately, and I could dedicate it to Keith and his mom. So there you go, Keith. I'm glad this is still meaningful for you. It was a very special moment because that was so real in your life. So yeah, I empathise. And Pete says Magnetize is such a great comeback album. Did not disappoint. Thanks, Pete. Yeah, well, it was the comeback album because there hadn't been a Johnny Hates Jazz album, certainly not with me and Mike on board since Turn Back the Clock. So, but there hadn't been since Rain Dance or Tool Stories or whatever, nothing like that. So we were very aware that we needed to make an album that was going to be very much of the present, because we are people of the present. We don't, we no longer exist in that period of time, the 80s, but to also recognize what our sound, was and is. And I think a lot of people felt good about how we approached it. Let's see. Fardous, bon fait de parler. My French isn't that good, so someone else is going to have to pronounce that. But how are you doing, Fardous? You wrote a lovely message earlier. I noticed that on Facebook with your commentary on what the song is about. So thank you. I thought that was really lovely. So just a couple more. Hi, Paul. How are you doing? Hi, Sherry. Everyone's saying you're not too late. Don't worry. Eduarda, so excited to see you performing the song. Welcome, Eduarda. How are you keeping? And Alice, hi Alice, it's a lovely message to Keith there, and Vanessa from Antwerp. How you doing, Vanessa? Hope you're keeping well. Like I say, sorry I'm not saying hi to everyone here, but that's going to be the point of the forum coming up. Okay, time for tea. So, the song, folks, really the song is a question in a way. Not necessarily the way I wrote it, but the subject is a question for me, continues to be. Because, poets and philosophers, poets, that's a combination of the two. I guess I'm a poet. Poets and philosophers have always wondered and conceptualized about the idea of life and death. What happens? Where do we go, if anywhere? Where did we come from? And this has always been in the back of my mind, that question about what becomes of us after our time here on Earth has completed. And everyone will have their thoughts on this, and a lot of people will have their answers. I don't have answers. I have questions because I don't think anyone knows. Belief is not the same as knowing. And so we can believe what we feel is true. We can study to see what could be the case in terms of evidence or ancient writings, ancient teachings. That's all cool, and you've got to figure out what resonates with you. What I did was that I studied ancient philosophies, indigenous philosophies. So these are ones going back thousands of years, whether that be Celtic or Tibetan Buddhist or Native American, as I've said before, Mayan. And what is very interesting is that they do converge in this idea that life is not the end. In fact, death is just the beginning. And that's a really powerful thought and statement. And then, of course, I have to, like you have to, in my way, I have to trust my sensitivity on the subject. What do I sense is going to be the case? What do I sense is happening here in life? This journey, which is so limited in time, much more so for some than others. And the ancients really talk about death as not being death, as we regard it, the end. This, something that has such finality. They see it as a transformation from one state of being to another state of being. And they don't talk about heaven. They don't talk about hell. They talk about transformation, like I say, into something which is, for want of a better expression, other dimensional, but certainly a different state of existence for all of us. And in some ways, for me, the most natural way of looking at this is just look at Mother Earth. Look at the seasons. In autumn and winter, things appear to die. And you often hear people say, oh, everything's dying now, everything's dead now, or looks dead. And then, of course, in spring, you realize that's not true at all. They are just coming back and re energizing in a new form. So, in some ways, I think that is the most direct lesson for us about what this transformation might be. And then you can get into other things about, whether we've had past existences and we will have other existences as other people in the future. But that's for another time, because that's actually what Magnetized, the song, is about. So I think I'm I am thinking about a particular story that was shared with me by a Native American friend, and this is a ancient perspective that has a lot of beauty to it. Okay, whether you think it's real or not, I think it's beautiful in its concept, and that is that when we die here on Earth, our loved ones mourn and cry and feel unbelievable loss. But in the next existence, after the transformation, they are welcomed with joy as if it's a birth, because in that realm it is a kind of birth, it's an arrival. And then in that realm, when it's time for us to be reborn again, okay, so this is where it does touch into reincarnation, they weep, they mourn, they feel great loss. And we celebrate the arrival of a baby. So that always touched me deeply, and I think is such a human, compassionate way to look at our journey, our ongoing journey. Okay, so I'm going to go now to what inspired me. And you notice, people, that I sometimes refer to films or books as sources of inspiration. And of course, the main source of inspiration is something much deeper than that. But it's good to talk about films and books and songs, music, because we can all relate to them. And they're terms of reference that often some of you will know already and be familiar with. And if you're not, you can become familiar with them if you want. But also because I was a kid growing up in the late 60s and throughout the 70s, we had 3 television channels. 3. And so what was often on those TV channels at viewing times that were specific to kids, Saturday, Sunday mornings, or afternoons, were old films. So I watched a lot of films from the 30s, 40s, 50s, sometimes from the 20s, and the 60s, of course. And they affected me profoundly. So I'm going to kind of move through this fairly swiftly, because there are a lot of films that touched me in this way, and books. But when I was very young, I saw a movie on my own. I was probably about 6 or something. A movie, a British film called A Matter of Life and Death, starring David Niven and Kim Hunter. And very briefly, David Niven plays a World War II pilot who crashes on his way back to Britain after a battle. And in time and space, this is the story, he was supposed to die. But he doesn't. And basically, he and the woman who loves him have to argue with the powers that be as to why he should be allowed to continue to live when he was supposed to die. It was a really powerful film. And actually in the US it was called Stairway to Heaven. That's where they got the title from. And that's because this is one of the most famous scenes from the film. This is actually the operating theatre where the pilot is, they're trying to save his life. It's a long story because he did survive, but he needed an operation. And the woman just above the team of surgeons who's in military fatigues, is the woman that he loves, and she's come to plead for his ongoing existence. Remarkable story, really affected me. But a story that affected me in a very, very deep way is this. A lesser known Steven Spielberg film from 1989 called Always. And Always actually was a remake of a film from the 40s again, I think. I think it's called A Man Named Joe. I can't remember. Always starred Richard Dreyfuss, Holly Hunter, and John Goodman. And it's a profound story. I don't know how many of you have seen it, but I was devastated after seeing this film. And this has so much relevance to Release You, because basically Richard Dreyfuss plays a firefighter, an airborne firefighter, and he crashes and he passes away. He dies, and he doesn't realise it. And he leaves behind the woman that he loves, who's Holly Hunter, and his best friend John Goodman. And the woman that he loves, Holly Hunter's character, had a premonition this was going to happen and begged him not to take this mission. And he decided it would be his last mission. Anyway, he dies. And then he meets a spirit guide in the forest where he crashes, who's played by a remarkable Audrey Hepburn. And she explains to him that it's his task now to guide those that are still alive through their thoughts. So when he speaks to them to give them guidance, they will hear him as if they're thoughts. It's a powerful thing. Very powerful idea, I think, that people could be influenced in that way, in a beautiful way. And the whole purpose of the story is that he's been given the task to teach a young pilot who it turns out is going to fall in love with the woman that he loved. And he has to, I'm going to get emotional now, he has to come to terms with this and eventually let her go. It's so moving. I was in tears when I saw it. It's a very beautiful story. Sorry, I'm tearing up now. And I should quickly say this, he doesn't want to let her go to begin with. He doesn't want to accept that he's gone. And he certainly doesn't want this young guy to come into her life, even though he's been the one that he is supposed to teach and help on his life journey. It's an incredible story. And when he finally realizes what he needs to do, it's so profound and freeing for her and for him as he moves on. Okay, so I think I need a cup of tea because I got a bit emotional there. So, folks, yes. Oh, I should say something, sorry. I think Always came after E.T., and people were absolutely shocked that he did that as a follow-up, because it was not a blockbuster. It was not, no special effects. It was very different, obviously, to Close Encounters and the things we'd got to know from him. But beautiful story, and I'm a big fan of Spielberg, especially when he does just dramas. I think Bridge of Spies, as an example, is an exceptional film. Anyway, so that leads me on to a book that someone recommended, actually Native American recommended I read, and this is interesting that they recommended I read a Tibetan Buddhist book, and I'm not a Buddhist, as I've said last time, not religious. But this book, The Tibetan Book of Living and Dying by Sogyal Rinpoche, is actually a remarkable book. It's a legendary book now, because it's a way of translating for people who do not come from that discipline, especially for Westerners, what their concepts are of the passage from life to a continuing but changed existence and on. It's a really, really powerful and beautiful book. Affected me deeply, and actually right well, not right after I read that, maybe shortly after actually. There was a film made, a remarkable film called What Dreams May Come, with Robin Williams, the late Robin Williams. And there's the phrase, the end is just the beginning. It's a very, very deep film and very influenced by the Tibetan Buddhist perspective on the continuing existence that we call death and they don't. So, there. I've kind of I've expressed myself as best I can. I need some more tea before we get into the song. How are we all doing? I'll do a couple of questions here. Um, Alice says I saw it in the theatre and was crying at the end too. Yeah, Alice, it's one of those films. Let's just see who else we've got here. Matt says I loved Always. It's a very sad and bittersweet story. Yeah, absolutely. And Moya, Always is a wonderful film. Yeah, I think it is too. Quick hi to Jerome. Bonjour, Jerome. Glad you joined us. Um, Hi, Sergey. I've noticed you've joined us. Um, hi, Richard. How you doing, mate? An old friend of mine from Cleethorpes. Yes, I'm sure you're enjoying sunny Cleethorpes, Florida. Um, it's a wonderful tradition, is it? Naming places, when you get to a new country after the country you came from, and I think Cleethorpes is a particularly lovely name. Um, how you doing, Rich? I hope you're doing all right. I hope Joe's keeping well as well. Neil says I haven't seen Always, but I will have to now. I do recommend it, Neil. It is of its time. I often say this about films from the 80s. They are of their time, and that's a wonderful thing. I think in some ways, it's a really powerful message. Um, okay, let's just see. Polly, how you doing, Polly? A book to read, heartbreaking. So brace yourself. It's called Down to a Sunless Sea. Fits in more with Don't Let It End This Way. Try it. Thanks, Polly. That's a powerful title. Beautiful. I'll make a note of that. Thank you. And Neil actually comments on What Dreams May Come. Harrowing opening, but beautiful imagery. Yeah, it is. It's a different. I would not actually watch that film lightly, folks. It's not like Always. Anyone could watch Always, or A Matter of Life and Death. But What Dreams May Come is actually quite intense, so I would be very mindful about that. Carol, hi Clark and all. Darn it, had visitors, so only just tuned in. Carol, don't worry about it because, of course, you can watch this on catch up. I know it's not quite the same, but it's better than nothing. Um, and Chris, hello Chris. As a hospice nurse, I have always related to Release You. That's very powerful, Chris. You would know better than many of us. And thank you for joining us. Thanks for that comment. I mean, interestingly, I should say that after Magnetized came out, some of you know this already, I became very ill in late 2013 with a rare form of cancer. And so I was actually facing a situation that related very directly to Release You. It was really a remarkable moment in time that I'd written this song, and here I was potentially facing it in a matter of a short amount of time. But I knew I was going to pull through, and I had incredible medical people around me in the NHS. Just fantastic. Okay. I will just say hi to Sylvia from Porto. Hi Sylvia, how you doing? You missed the last live streams. Back when you can. That's the most you can do, and I appreciate you being able to be part of this at all. So good. Okay. Roy Paul says, I would recommend you, Clark, to see the movie A Dog's Purpose as well. I think I did see that film, Roy Paul. If I think it's the one about the dog that keeps coming back as a different dog. That's a great film. It's beautiful. It's a real tearjerker though. Tell me if that's the one that you're referring to. And Christopher, hi there from Liverpool. How you doing, Christopher? Thanks for joining us. And Lisa, how you doing? Okay, everyone. So, this song is really me asking myself, what do I want to say to the person or people that I leave behind when I go, when my time is finished here on earth? What is my message to them? And I really placed myself in a situation where I'm still present as a, let's say, as a spirit. I'm unseen, but I can still see the world around me. They can't perceive me. So I'm trying to send a message to say to this loved one, you have to let me go. Remember, the song is Release You. I'm not releasing someone who's passed away. I'm the one who's passed away saying, I'm letting you go. This goes back to always. I'm freeing you to live the rest of your life. I'm not going to hang on as much as I love you deeply. And in that sense, you will free me to move on to the next stage of my journey. That's what Release You is about. Before this song, I need some water. I think a bit of reverb is called for here. Losing the fight, closing my eyes. I'd run out of luck and I'd run out of time. The beat of my heart was fading away. The last thing I saw was your beautiful face. You and I, we can't deny that we're still holding on to everything we thought was yet to be. So I release you, yes I made my peace with you now. It is time to say farewell. Deep inside you know you've got to let me go. Though I love you with all my might, I must go towards the light. Every day I watch as you grieve. I know that I must, but I don't want to leave. I call out your name, you stop and you stare. There are only the trees, but you know that I'm there. In this dream, the in-between, I wish that I could hold you, but I am just a presence in the wind. So I release you, yes I made my peace with you now. It is time to say farewell. to let me go. Though I love you with all my might, I must go towards the light. Yeah. Ooh, yeah, I release you, yeah. Set yourself free, set yourself free. Through the mist, you blow a kiss, and then you walk away. And finally, I know that I am free. So I release you, yes, I've made my peace with you now. It is time to say farewell. Deep inside, you know you've got to let me go. Though I love you with all my might, I must go towards the light. I release you, I release you. Ooh, I release you, I release you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ooh, 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 yeah. Closing my eyes, losing the fight. Okay, there we go. Release you. I got quite emotional there. Cup of tea. Tea is the keep calm and carry on drink. That's for sure. Okay, I hope that resonated with you, what I had to say, everyone. So, there are other songs on this subject, as I intimated. So I'm going to return to this subject, but in different ways. And Heart of Hearts really is a whole thing in and of itself, but very much related to Release You. Okay, everyone. Next week, I'm going to be jumping back to Rain Dance, Journey Songs 1, with a song called State of Play, which is a very up song. And it's a track that featured Candy Delfer on saxophone. That's going to be very lively. Don't worry, there's going to be no talk about such things. But I'm also going to have a special guest on. Haven't had a guest for quite a while, if you remember that. I have got a few guests lined up, and I'll tell you more about that soon. But my guest next week is a guy called Cole Bennett, better known as FM84. And FM84 are kind of at the thin end of the wedge of the synthwave genre. And they had a track called Running in the Night, which was a big success, has had a huge number of streams. I mean, in hit terms, it's a hit, but has inspired other people in the synthwave movement. And I had a chat with Cole already, and I will show you the interview that I did with him, because basically he reached out to me on social media to say, you know, I was a big influence for him, you know, now and as he was growing up, and he was just delighted to hear that I felt so positively about Running in the Night. Absolutely, you know, beside himself, and it was a lovely chat we had. So that'll be part of next week's episode as well. Okay, everyone, let's just close here with a few comments. Anton says, wow, FM84 is my favorite retro wave band. Great stuff, Anton. Well, Cole will be with me, and that's going to be a good one. And Edmund says, State of Play, my favorite from Rain Dance. Great, Edmund. I'm glad to hear that. That was also on Fishing for Souls, State of Play. So I will post a version in the week on YouTube, so you can all become familiar with it in case some of you aren't. And I'm not sure which version I'm going to post yet. Let me know what you think. Rain Dance or Fishing for Souls, if any of you have got thoughts on that. Ro says, thank you for the song, Clark, deeply. You're very welcome, Ro. And Veronica says, Clark, Chinese writing scroll poster is beautiful. That's my mom's name in, I believe it's Cantonese. So there you go. Yes, I think it's Cantonese, yeah. So thank you, Veronica. Well spotted. You may well be able to read it. I don't know. Okay, and Barbara says, I remember seeing Candy at the Prince concert in Rotterdam. Maybe she can be a guest too. We'll think about that. It has been on my mind. Very good. Okay, everyone, I'm just going to finish with Sylvia. When I first heard the song, I thought of me and my mom when she passed. Well, that's kind of, my dad passed away, and I have that relationship with the song through such a overwhelming loss. So I empathize with you, Sylvia. And Sergey says, such a wonderful song, makes me shiver a little. Thank you, Sergey. Okay, everyone, if I didn't include everyone, I wish I could have done. Let's see, I think I'm going to just have to move on. There's so many messages. Thank you very much. Actually, I like this. Christopher, how fantastic is live music? Thank you. Very emotional performance of a great song. Thank you, Christopher. I appreciate that. Yeah, live music is amazing that we can keep it going in this realm of live streaming and the internet. Okay, everyone. I think it's time to say adios. Let's finish, because I did used to do this, and I don't know why I've stopped. Only episode 11. It's not like I stopped long ago. Let's do one more chorus of Release You. Everyone join in, and let's dry our eyes and kind of see this in a very positive, forward-looking way, that it's not the end, and our loved ones have not gone. So I release you, yes I made my peace with you now. It is time to say farewell. Deep inside you know you've got to let me go. Though I love you with all my might, I must go towards the light. Take care, everyone. Have a great week. I'll see you soon. Adios.